All right, call the meeting to order. Oh, roll call, please.
Gurecki,
Here.
Washington, Percola,
Here.
Slice, Middleton, Dapke, here, Dusterhoff.
Here. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Any additions to the agenda? All right.
No.
All right. Recognitions and celebrations.
So this is kind of the typical third month in a row that we do a recognition celebration. It happens every year, but I know we're missing a few board members tonight, but wow. I think I said the same thing last year, that to be a Board of Education member is so challenging. There is no pay for the role, and typically a lot of hours that a good board would put in. But last year and again this year, unfortunately, it continues to be unusually challenging like never before, being a Board of Education member with the current situation of COVID and everything else going on in the world. So I just thought we'd take a minute to just recognize the board for all their efforts. They come here out of the good of their own heart. I am very proud to work with our board, who I can say with all sincerity have nothing but the best intentions in their heart for what goes on with the students and staff of D92. So if we can give the board a round of applause and just thank them for all. Any comments? You guys can take all the time you want. We can drag out the meeting.
No, we're good. I'm sure we're good.
Okay.
No. Thank you. It really is our honor to serve the students and the families and taxpayers of the district. And we do take it seriously and appreciate everyone's support as we navigate the world. All right. The Oakford Junior High student report.
Yes, thank you so much. NJHS has had a busy start of the school year. We had our induction
Taylor,
ceremony.
do you both want to introduce yourselves real quick?
Oh, yes.
This is your time. This is your moment of fame here.
I'm Taylor Miraz. I'm Colton Donna. And we're NJHS members, of course. I'm sorry about that.
No, okay.
NJHS has had a busy start of the school year. We had our induction ceremony in October, and a record number of new members were inducted this year. There are an estimated 115 members, and each student needs to maintain a cumulative GPA of 3.95, 3.75, excuse me, demonstrate exemplary behavior, and complete 15 service hours at minimum. We meet monthly and work on leadership skills.
We have different opportunities both at school and in the community to help serve others. We started in August when we led tours of the building to the new 6th graders during Jumpstart. We helped the local Lockport Resource Center, helping them organize and package coats for the coat drive. We helped in building the media center. We helped in the building in the media center to help hang art in our hallways. We have started helping peer tutoring after school in the SOS program. We help supervise the sports club after school at Ledwick. Just last weekend, a group of 20 students went to the SOS Children's Village and helped clean and organize the toy room. Donations were accepted from the staff, and we were able to bring a whole van full of gently used toys and books for the children at the village.
Yes. We will be helping to supervise children during parent-teacher conferences at Walsh to allow parents some time to communicate with their child's teacher. We will be decorating the OP office in common spaces for the upcoming holidays and hosting a hot cocoa social in December.
In addition to these events, we are also finding more ways to help others around us. We are keeping very busy.
Well, that's all we have for you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So we appreciate your time, and yeah, if you need to go home, you can. You don't need to stay for the whole thing.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks again, Ms. Forkash, for putting that together. It's great to hear. The perfect example is them volunteering to help during parent teacher conferences at Walsh is always a challenge, whether to bring your student with you and all that. So that's fantastic. We're able to provide that for families and make those connections between the older students and the younger ones. There's no AFT report tonight.
Correct.
Okay. We have a couple presentations. First, the audit.
Yes. Thank you. This evening, we just found out that our auditor, John Michelesco, had an emergency and was not able to join us. He is more than willing to come back in December if the board would like that. I can just say from a high level, all of you have received the audit. There were no significant findings. It was another very good year from his standpoint. But again, if you would like John to come in December, please let us know.
Okay.
And I could try to answer any questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are there any questions at this time? Okay, we'll
Okay.
talk to the, if we need anything else, we'll
Perfect.
we'll
All right,
follow
thank
up.
you.
Thank you. And then the tax levy.
Tax levy, yes, very exciting. So the worksheet is there for us. This is, again, the tentative levy. Next month, we need to approve it as a final version. You can see in the board packet, the worksheet that's accomplished puts us just under the 5% threshold, obviously, which indicates that we're within the truth and taxation requirement. So we're coming in at 3.29. Again, those are numbers that are based off of new development, new growth, our EAV, and assessing sort of what the future of next year looks like. And happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay. All right. Public comments, items on the agenda. Sorry, where's my sheet? A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments and topics listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the agenda item they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for any necessary board follow-up. And we don't have any agenda item comments tonight. Okay. Administrative reports, Dr. Arnold.
Yes, I will share my screen. So after a few months of work, we've really looked at our different metrics that for our strategic priorities. This is not new to the board, but it's in more of a clean, formal format. And we are presenting this tonight with the expectation that it gets brought back to the board in December for approval. And once again, it's a little bit of a broken record saying this, but normally this is the kind, we would look for that December approval, typically more in August or September. So we're getting better than we have in the past with timing, but we're not there all the way. So in our areas, I think it's worth pointing out, we've talked about an achievement goal for some time. We've always talked about a long-term achievement goal. We don't want to use a statewide metric such as the IAR and be responding year to year. We want to set a target long-term and then find the greatest area of need, the GANs, and that's the work that our PLC teams do, to really take the time to make those strides. And in the areas, for example, math and English language arts, to really set a target that gets us somewhere more significant. So we are proposing that we set a target. We have never had students meet 50% of our students meet and exceed on the IAR in either math or ELA. So we think it's a reasonably ambitious target that by the spring administration of 2024, that we get to that point. We always like to get there sooner. We're certainly not going to go slow to get there, but at the same time, we want to give ourselves enough time on a metric like that to do the instructional improvement, look at our learning processes, and really make sure that we're putting our effort from a professional development standpoint in the right bucket. So the first two you see, and once again, I should probably note this is color coded, very consistent with our strategic plan. The first two are your typical SMART goals. They're not in SMART goal format on the screen I'm showing, but down below they are. And they have two strategies along with them. The strategies are implementation targets, which is different than a SMART goal target. The first strategy is really talking about identifying the priority standards in all subjects, all areas, all subjects, all grade levels, excuse me. And the second one is our journey with assessment work. And our goal this year is to really take a team of teacher leaders and provide some initial assessment professional development. The second learning culture goal, once again, this is not new, but really looking at identifying specific SEL indicators linked to our students that we can measure over time. So the idea would be identifying those indicators and then providing some kind of assessment feedback so that we could see where our students are this year as a baseline, and then what would we need to put in place in 22-23 school year to make some gains in whatever those areas are. So the first one is very focused on the student component of it. The second one is building upon school-wide SEL practices from the CASEL rubric, and that's around cultural competencies or cultural responsiveness. We sort of still use those terms interchangeably. We've also evolved that term more towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. When you hear those terms, that's the kind of things we're talking about in strategy 3. Professional culture goals. So once again, this is a goal from the strategic plan, was to implement PLCs. And we did set a target. There's a self-assessment that you'll see in a minute that really talks about where we want teachers to be. We're going slow to go fast in this one. We don't want to force this one. It takes time to build PLCs. And when I say it takes time, it takes more than a year. It takes multiple years to be fluent in the PLC process. So we're going to be patient with that, but we've set some initial targets at a 3, which is kind of middle of the road by the end of the year to have an average of that. And then strategy 4 was already in place. We've actually probably already met that, and that's to implement a district-wide PLC model. Okay. The partnership goal, we do not have one developed. That was not a goal to develop a goal for this year, if that makes any sense. But we do want to, by the end of this year, have a partnership goal. That goes to the strategy 5, that to identify the greatest area of need for partnering with families. And then I intend to use our superintendent parent advisory team to develop that goal, bring it back to district leadership team, and ultimately to the board. Finally, resources goals, probably very straightforward. It's not a goal. They're both implementation goals. They're not SMART goals, but obviously with the field facilities branch of that, we're focused on the construction of the secured entrances. And with the technology aspect, we want to, by the end of the year, have a framework and a multi-year plan at least started, if not completed. It's going to take some time to work through the framework that we selected, but we'll get there. That's the high level, and I'd be happy to answer questions, but I would encourage the board. We'd like to bring this back at the December 14th board meeting for your final approval. And if you scroll through, you'll see each of what I just shared spelled out with more specificity, with the actual metrics or key performance indicators included for each one. So you'll see how we're going to implement what I just shared. But happy to answer any questions. And we bring it back in December for your approval. And the ultimate goal is that then these are folded into a significant aspect of the superintendent evaluation as well.
You did have a typo in the top right there. The second blue line. It says math twice in the first and the second.
Got it.
One should be a
Should be ELA. Yep. Good catch. We will fix that. Thank you.
Okay.
And let's see, the other part of my report is I do want to, this is going to be a discussion for later in the meeting, but as the board is aware, we are losing our third-party vendor who they're the ones that actually come to administer the Shield testing on behalf of Shield. And they are no longer going to be a partner with Shield as of December 6th. This was not our decision. It was between Shield and the third-party vendor. They service many districts, and so several districts are in the same boat that we are. We do have meetings set up and do believe we have a new third-party vendor. We believe I think they're called Visit Healthcare. Does that sound right? I believe. So we're looking to set up a meeting with them. But that all leads to the bigger question of, and we'll have time for board discussion, what happens in January when we come back? Our Shield testing contract that everybody signed up for back in July will expire December 31st. We can re-up, and we can always, if we re-up, cancel with 30 days notice. So there's no cost to us. We don't earn money from this, but we also aren't indebted to anyone for the Shield testing. But I think there's a lot that's going to happen. I would anticipate in the next 2 months to really see where are we going with Shield testing. We are very interested in a take-home component of that. They refer to that as the unsupervised option. If we could start that tomorrow, I would probably start that tomorrow, but that's not possible yet. So we are entertaining that idea of it would only be available by IDPH's rules, 1st grade through 8th grade. High schoolers aren't allowed to do it, and kindergarten and below are not allowed to do the take-home version. And that's because of chain of custody issues with the testing. But for our 1st through 8th graders, that would be significant to be able to have the students take a tube home. They could overnight. Well, actually, they would take a month's supply home. They take 4 weeks home in a baggie. Once a week on the given day, they would bring it back with their sample included and be good to go. Just turn it in, make sure their name is correct on the tube, and they would be set. So that's something we're exploring, but we need to get this new partner in place first. And that really leads to the last part I want to share with the board, and that is I am planning to present to ISB, the Illinois State Board of Education, during their regular business meeting this Thursday. And what I'd like to do is really share the message that we've talked about for about 20 months now, and that is, what are the metrics that are having us decide? Last year it was more, are we in person, are we remote, things like that. At the beginning of this year, back at our August 2nd meeting, the board approved metrics that would really guide us through, if our local numbers are here, then we do this. And if our local numbers are here, then we do that. I think we're all wanting that. We like that clarity. We need to see an end now that the vaccination is available to all of our students, 5-year-olds on up. It does not include our early childhood students, obviously. But now that that's available, we know that today that's not our status. But when we come back from winter break in January, everyone who wants to would have had the chance theoretically at that point to get both shots to be fully vaccinated. So my purpose for wanting to talk to the state board is, I think they're trying to get something done along the lines of better clarity. We really struggle with the guidance. The guidance keeps coming out, and then they don't always correct the old guidance. And so we can spot several examples of there's a conflict, and it really slows down our contact tracing. It makes it much more confusing than it probably needs to be. So for all those reasons, I'd like to encourage the state board to, there's a group working to get to the table with the governor, with IDPH and the state board to get clear plans in place for metrics that are local. I don't want to respond to what's happening in Will County. I don't want to be part of the region. I really want to respond to what's happening in our district and make decisions based on that. So I'm not looking for the local control, like we want to do what we want to do kind of local control, but a local responsiveness to what really is going on with our students, with our staff, in our community. And so I think that's long overdue. I think that should have been there from the beginning. And I think now we just need to get over the end line as far as how do we bring this home once everybody has the ability to be vaccinated, because just living in the unknown is I think really frustrating for parents, for students, staff, administrators. So I really am sharing that with the board, and certainly not as much asking permission, but certainly want board feedback on that message with me talking to the state board. I would never want to go in and represent the district in a way that isn't consistent with where we are as a board.
I appreciate you going in and trying to get an answer. I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but hopefully, you know, at least we'll get some direction that they're reviewing it, or they'll take it under advisement. I mean, at this point, anything is better than what we've been getting.
Yeah. They haven't been immune to what most boards have had their meetings since August or even before that. You know, folks sitting in that side of the table have it's been the same as we've seen. So I have no reason to go there and belittle people. I really have empathy for their position, and I want them to hear we're close. I think we've done a phenomenal job. The board approved all those metrics on August 2nd, and the next day the governor said, nope, we're going to mask mandate. I still stand behind our metrics to the point that it's very thoughtful of, I think there's 13 things we look at altogether, 5 specifically for our different levels. So I think we've taken a very comprehensive and a very local approach to what's going on. And my request to all the powers that be is, can't you just give us this and then let us go wherever our numbers show? And in a very respectful way. Like I said, I certainly would never conduct myself in an unprofessional manner. So.
Yeah, no, I'm certainly comfortable with it, and I appreciate you willingness to be in front of the microphone and
to be there instead of over here.
Yeah, right.
A little different.
Right. It's you know, equally as difficult to do that sometimes. So I appreciate that.
And that's really, I have the new metrics come out tomorrow, but they are in the board packet. I do believe they're available for the public. It's pretty much the same as it has been. So nothing really new there. Nothing we're concerned about at this point.
All right. And the shield stuff is later in the meeting.
Yeah, correct.
We are opportunity to have discussion on it.
Correct.
All right. Other administrative reports, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Yes, 2 items to update the board on this evening. First off is the construction update. We are at the 50% spot for our design, which really indicates the progress the DLA is making. And just sort of keeping the end in mind, we go out to bid on January 12th. So that is right around the corner. So not a lot of time. We have our first meeting on Monday, if anybody's interested in joining, with Henry Brothers and DLA. So this is actually the first time the 3 of us will be in the room together, and it'll be a site visit where we'll be hitting all the sites, spending most of Monday together to start mapping out some of these big things that we're planning on for next summer. Later on in the agenda, then, there are 2 resolutions that we'll be talking about. The intent to go out for working cash bonds, those 2 resolutions. So that's later on that we'll be highlighting that. The other item then that I just wanted to point out to the board is the discussions I've been having with several other entities in the area regarding Tamling Drive. Tamling Drive, the residents on Tamling have requested that street be closed off and just made a dead end or a one-way. I represented the district just talking about it from a bus standpoint and a student safety standpoint. Obviously, we don't really have skin in the game other than that to say that, you know, our biggest priority is the safety of our kids. The high school, it's all right for them to pick up kids on Archer at the corner of Tamling and Archer. For us, we pick up at homes. So the big thing for us is to make sure that whatever they do with Tamling, they maintain some thoroughfare for us. There are cul-de-sacs, 2 of them off of Tamling, which our buses are most likely able to turn around in. But as you may or may not know, Tamling is just inundated with traffic because of Smith Road, the semis that go through there, all the Amazon delivery trucks and everything else. They were saying something to the effect of over 800 cars going through there a day. Now, again, the sensors in the roads don't always pick up the correct kind of traffic, but either 800 or not, that's still a sizable number of vehicles going through Tamerlane. So for us, last year we had 7 students that were picked up on that street. So anything that we can do to ensure safety is important for us. So I just voiced the board's concern from that standpoint for that road. I'll have more updates as we learn more. I'll make sure the board's aware of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Director of Student Services.
Hi, I have a memo in the packet. There's nothing really to report unless any of you have questions. There's been some changes from pre-COVID to now. We're spending a lot of resources and time on some of our McKinney-Vento. So I highlighted there the differences. We've always had children who qualify under that, but previously they were more doubled up families. So living with grandma, aunt, uncle. We do have families living in shelters this year. I think the economy has definitely taken a toll. So we're trying to have those resources available for our families and have more of a list that's a little more widespread than we've done in the past. And then early childhood enrollment is a moving target. Walsh needs a second story is what I'm thinking, right, Ms. Martin? What we're finding though is what we're looking at is 2 years ago before COVID, students would come in at 2.5 years old. They'd be evaluated by the time they were 3 and we were good to go. What we're finding now is families didn't evaluate during COVID because they didn't want people in their homes and things like that. So we are kind of backlogged. We used to have 1 to 2 play bases a month. Now we're having 4 to 5 a month. So we're really trying to catch up and get that in process. Students are getting services as quickly as we can, but it definitely is a higher volume than in years past. So just wanted to highlight that for you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Director of Curriculum.
Okay.
Dr. Arnold's
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah.
Dr. Arnold's going to speak later about the proposal for our mathematics review for grades K through 8. And I just have a memo in there explaining our procedure right now. We have partnered with Dr. Ann Roloff of the DuPage County Regional Office of Education. And she is going to be our project coordinator, taking us through reviewing our curriculum to see where we're at, see where our strengths are, our challenges. And as we address PLC question number 2, our assessments, where we're at, how we're going to move forward with that.
And that's just for math?
Just for math. We're
We're
going to start
focusing,
with
okay.
math and then go forward from there. So we'll be working with Dr. Roloff from November till May this year.
Okay.
During PLC time, so it won't be out of the teacher's workday.
Is that a process that you foresee us doing in future years for other parts of the curriculum?
Exactly.
And then when will we have a finalized, I guess you call it a report on her findings?
Probably in May, I would imagine after
I think there's a timeline in the
Right.
document
Yeah,
Um,
this is
April and May.
February.
by the end of the school year.
Thank you. Nothing from the Director of Technology?
He has a memo in the board book, I believe, but he is on his way to a conference and could not be here.
Yeah, no presentation. Okay. All right. Consent agenda. There we go. All action consideration items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion and vote. And any board member who wishes to separate discussion on any items listed on the consent agenda may remove that item from the consent agenda, in which event the item will be considered in its normal sequence. I do need to remove number 9, the statement of completion for health, life, and safety amendment. That's an ROE thing that we're working through the ROE with them and our architects and some other things. And so for now, we need to table that.
Yep.
So we can remove it. Do we need a separate motion later to table it?
I think technically, as long as the board is okay with that, we would table it.
What's
Sandy,
our-
do you want, would we want a
Regional Office
separate
of
motion to take? Yeah, you're just,
Yeah.
So the Will County people.
as long as there's no board member objection, you can table it.
Okay. So any objection to tabling number 9 and removing it from the consent agenda?
No.
Okay. All right. So the consent agenda as presented are items 1 through 10 with number 9 being tabled. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Middleton, Gurecki,
Yes.
Datke,
Yes.
Washington, Slice, Percola,
Yes.
Dusterhoff.
Yes. All right, motion carries. All right, I need a motion to approve the tentative levy for 2021.
I can make it. Ducky.
Gurecki.
All right.
Probably not much of an update. Happy to answer any questions though.
And so just to be clear, this is the tentative levy, and then next month we will come back for the approval of the levy.
Officially approve it. Yes.
Officially
And
approved.
no changes from what was shown last month. And we
Correct.
don't
With the-
anticipate any for
The
next month.
version from October was the same as this month. I don't expect any numbers to change. The process for this, obviously, this is our revenue stream. And so the projections that we have are really that. They're estimates, and then the county will tell us in the spring how close we were to those numbers, and there might be an adjustment. I'll bring that back to the board in the spring so that we know for sure what our revenue numbers are. But that's pretty much the way that process works.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up, that it's a projection, because people seem to fixate on the levy number, and it's always been a projection. It's never been whatever the number we've addressed. It's never, ever been that. So it's just important to know we kind of aim high. It always tends to come in lower than that.
Thank you.
All right. Roll call, please.
Slice, Percola,
Yes.
Datke,
Yes.
Washington, Middleton, Gurecki,
Yes.
Dusterhoff.
Yes, motion carries. All right, the next two. The first one, resolution declaring intention to issue $11.3 million in working cash fund bonds for the purpose of increasing the district's working cash fund.
All right. So as I was talking about earlier with.
Oh, sorry. I need the motion. Yep. I screwed, yeah.
Percola.
Dusteroff. Okay,
All right.
sorry.
So
Thank you.
talking about construction, obviously, we moved our timeline ahead a little bit by wanting to address the entrances this summer. So part of that then required us to not only use our fund balance, but then to free up a potential for new funds for us. And that's by basically a refinancing of the bonds, if you will. But this positions us to be able to address construction for the next 3 summers. So I really want to emphasize, even though this summer coming up, we're identifying 3 entrances, there's quite a bit of work for 23 and 24. I've got that spreadsheet that really delineates that. Happy to share. But this resolution these resolutions really just strictly permit us to move forward with the intent then in December to actually take action and then go to sale in January. We're fortunate we have Tammy Beckwith-Shalma on with us from PMA. She presented several months ago to us and can provide more of a background and answer probably any questions that the board may have at this point.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with her previous presentation.
I was just gonna ask, what does the bond market look like? Are we, is it, to me, it's still very favorable, with our rating and our standing with the state. I'm assuming we should be able to not have a real hard time having a sale of these bonds.
Right. I don't believe we will. Tammy, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh,
Yes.
great.
And
Tammy, I don't know if you heard that question, but that was from Jim Gurecki, a board member.
I did. Thank you. And I'll be happy to give you an update on the market. The bond market is very, very strong right now. It's been that way for several months, which I think I talked about the last time I had a chance to speak with you. One of the main drivers for keeping rates so low in the municipal bond market is the fact that municipal supply simply can't keep up with demand. There's significant investor demand for municipal bonds, and that really is keeping rates low. And we're at this point actually within about 20 basis points or 0.2% of the all-time historical lows across the yield curve in the municipal bond market. And the historical lows occurred in August of 20 and February of this year. So we're really not far off of those. So certainly I'm hopeful that as we get ready to get your sale into the market in early 2022, we'll continue to see strong market demand. But I would agree with the comment that your strong credit rating, your financial position, that there will be a lot of investor interest in your transaction.
Great.
Great. All right. All right. Roll call then, please.
Washington, Gurecki,
Yes.
Weiss, Middleton, Stopke,
Yes.
Pergola,
Yes.
Duster.
Yes, motion carries. All right. Now we need a motion for the resolution calling for a public hearing concerning the intent to sell the $11.3 million in working cash bonds for the purpose of increasing the district's working cash fund.
Correct.
All right. So this is just
Procedural, if you will.
procedure that we're having
Yeah.
a public hearing next month
Right.
on the sales of these bonds.
So ultimately, we're allowing our public to have a chance to provide feedback and let us know questions, comments, concerns, as well as what is the direction with construction? What are we looking at for the next 3 years? Where does this fit in and why do we need it? I think that's the main reason.
And that public hearing will be the day, not the day, at 7 o'clock, right?
Correct.
Next month,
In
or in our
December.
December meeting, and then we'll move right into our regular meeting when that one is concluded.
You'll get a double. That'll be the tax levy hearing also.
Oh, so there'll be three,
Yeah.
technically 3 meetings,
3 meetings, correct.
two public hearings that are actually separate events, and then the regular meeting.
Correct.
All right, sorry, roll call. There's not a lot of discussion on that one. Yes.
Weiss, Stopke,
Yes.
Gurecki,
Yes.
Middleton, Washington, Duster.
Yes, motion carries. All right, I need a motion to approve the curriculum audit.
Stopke.
Just Ralph? Oh, okay. Dr. Arnold, did you want to add anything to
The agreement is provided for the board and it's pretty straightforward. The timeline I don't have it in front of me, but I do believe there is a timeline in there. Mrs. McCluskey and I do have another meeting before we officially kick off, once the board approves this, to make sure we're very respectful of the teacher's time. We want to be very clear about what we're asking teachers to do. This is the core of PLC question number 1 is what do we want kids to know and be able to do? That's the assessment, or that's the question that needs to be answered before we can get into assessment, which is PLC question number 2. So by looking at the curriculum, doing a curriculum audit with mathematics will get us to a very solid place. You would then anticipate next year we could really begin some work in earnest around assessments in math. At the same time, in an ideal world, we would start a curriculum audit for ELA for next year. While we think we can get the math one done this year because the nature of math and how it's sequential and builds upon itself, we would expect probably more like a 2-year time frame to do the same audit for ELA, more complex, a lot of different resources to review, and even instructional strategies. So a lot more work to do with ELA. We thought this was definitely a curriculum project that would get us some success because it's straightforward. The teachers are all focused on this kind of work in their PLC time. We just want to make sure we maintain their capacity. We don't want them, this is not something we're intending teachers to be meeting after school with, outside the school day, things like that. So we're excited about it. And it fits perfectly with PLC question number 1.
All right. Roll call, please.
Stopke,
Yes.
Washington, Gurecki,
Yes.
Middleton, Pergola,
Yes.
Weiss, Duster.
Yes, motion carries. I need a motion to approve the TRS Supplemental Savings Program Resolution.
Gurecki.
Stopke.
Okay.
All right, just overview. We've obviously been talking about the TRS supplemental savings plan. It feels like now for months. But we finally have direction, and it was finally signed. And the work that really is been going into this is why TRS moved over to a new system of reporting called Gemini. And really what that means is it's been a headache for the payroll office. But that aside, what the savings plan is really another option of a 457B for our employees, our TRS employees who would like to participate. It will become mandatory for other tiers. Right now for our tier 1, it's not. So it's all an option for them. And so in order for us to participate in the 457, I need the board to take action with this agreement. I then will upload it to TRS. They know all of our I's have been dotted and T's crossed, and we'll be able to move forward with that program.
All right, very good. Any comment, questions? All right. Roll call, please.
Gurecki,
Yes.
Washington, Percola,
Yes.
Swets, Middleton, Duffy,
Yes.
Dusterhoff.
Yes, motion carries. All right, discussion items. First reading of board policies.
Board policy updates are in there. Any questions? The intent would be, as always, bring them back next month for approval. Several of those, there's a good mix of review and some changes. Okay.
And just the, what do you call it? No, the board policy, what do you call it? What do we call ourselves? The committee?
Oh, the policy committee.
Policy committee.
It's a really clever name.
Yeah, the policy committee. I knew I was getting it right. I knew it was.
I spent a lot of time coming up with that name.
Yeah, the policy committee continues to review those. This year, it's myself, Dr. Arnold, and Mr. Nyson from the middle school.
And soon to be a parent representative on that too.
Oh, good. Okay, excellent. So that's an excellent addition. Good. I know we talked about that, so I'm glad that's happening. Okay. IASB resolutions. We received the big packet last month. And Jim's going to be representing us on Saturday afternoon at the
Saturday morning.
All right. Really, it really is an interesting event.
Again, the unique situation is you're representing this district and all of the districts that are part of the III are basically in that room giving their feedback on these resolutions. So not only are these resolutions created by the individual school districts, but they're presented to the committee, then afforded for what would be an actionable item to bring down to Springfield and try to create legislation or amend legislation. So it is a really, it's a very interesting event. Some years are a little more tense than others, but it's certainly something everyone should at least if you've got an opportunity to stop in and just witness it. It's really a good event to see what really the discussion about legislation takes place.
All right. Very good. Thank you for doing that and representing the board. All right. Shield testing contract expiration December 31st.
So really, this has been a little bit of a roller coaster. We started talking back in probably May and June around if this child vaccination, if 5 and up, could be vaccinated in July. Remember when that was a target? How things could change with guidelines and things like that. Obviously, that did not happen. So as we got the word that around Halloween, the vaccination would be approved, we started anticipating or questioning what role does shield testing play once the vaccinations are fully in place for 5 on up? How do we do that? Because while the principals have done a phenomenal job making this work, The teachers have been flexible. The kids have been awesome. It does take time out of the day. It is labor intensive, even though we're not the people actually administering it. It is taking away time from learning. It's small. We don't allow students to spend more than 5 minutes or so actually trying to drool into the tube. However, then they have to stand in a line. They have to wait for their test tube to be accepted and things like that. So we're not going to do this forever. So the question is then how long? So we were looking at, should we continue the contract or not? Then the option started coming. Well, part of what happened is the number started to increase again. So once again, it starts going up. It makes you a little bit more cautious to start pulling back on mitigation strategies. At the same time, now there's this take-home version that might be available. I still want to stress might, but we certainly hope we could have that as a tool in the toolkit come January. So with all of that, this is the time for the board to discuss, and I don't even have to bring it back to the board. If the board is good with renewing, this doesn't have to be an action item. We can just renew and not bring it back in December. If you want time to think about it, if you want time to see what the numbers will do, if you want time to see in the next month what changes with the guidelines, we can certainly table it and then come back and have a discussion and approve it or not at the December 14th board meeting. So I'm just laying that out for the board. My recommendation right now would be to continue it, to go ahead and re-up it, knowing that we could always get out. If it's the middle or end of January and we make the decision that we don't need this anymore as a mitigation strategy, then we can give them notice and stop. So there's a lot of flexibility. I don't feel like it's a big stressful have to, but definitely interested in where the board is with all of that.
I don't see any reason to not do it.
What are the negatives to re-upping?
I don't know that there is a negative to re-upping. The only caution I would have for not, they have staffing concerns. I really called Shield out when they told us that the third-party vendor was no longer going to be employed with them come December 6th. And they said, but we'll have you covered. And I said, with all due respect, I don't know how you can promise that. I mean, we've been through that with bus drivers. We still struggle to hire pretty much every class of hourly employee there is. Thankfully, we're staffed well right now. Substitutes are consistently a concern. So it's a tough labor market. So I think the advantage of re-upping now gives them, because I do have a meeting with local superintendents tomorrow, and most of us are in the same boat with the same company. And so we are looking for ways to partner. And I would like to be able to tell them, yes, we're in with this new third-party vendor, or no, we're not, but we don't have to. And from a staffing point from Shield, as soon as they get the yes, we're committed, they will up their game in getting fully staffed for this. So
I think it's better to keep our place in line.
exactly, we worked hard to get our place.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't see a negative. Like I said, if we re-up and at any point, we just need 30 days notice to let them know, hey, we're out. And even at that point, it's all voluntary. If no students show up to do it, no students show up to do it. The other negative I didn't mention is we don't know where the guidelines will go with employees. But right now, the vast majority of our non-vaccinated, I think we're off the top of my head, 84% of our employees are vaccinated. The ones that don't have to have the weekly test. The majority of those, 16-ish% do rely on the testing we do for that. It's free, it's in-house, it's during the school day, they do it, it's easy. If that was taken away, those individuals would have to either get vaccinated or find some other outside way to be vaccinated, which is a hassle, which could be costly to them. So that's another advantage, but we certainly wouldn't maintain Shield testing for our students just for that reason. So I think it matters where the guidelines go and what happens.
Yeah, I agree with that. For now, we stay the course with re-upping and moving forward with them, waiting to see how vaccination rates and what do you call it? And then just numbers all of it, the guidance,
Everything.
as well as what actual numbers we're seeing in, because it's cases per 100,000 right now. That's our big metric. That's right.
We've never hit that one. We've
Right.
hit almost every other metric except that one. So that kind of goes to why I went to talk to the state board to say, we selected those. I think we put a lot of good thought into it. Is that the one metric? Was that the right metric? I mean, it's a legit metric, but was it the right one to determine your mitigation strategy level? I don't know.
Mhm.
And so we selected it. You know, if that stayed that way, I mean, part of you would say, maybe we need to rethink that metric, but I don't know that we're going to get that ability anytime soon.
Right.
Um,
So
so you're right, that one or that per 100,000 is the,
certainly the one, because even with the shield testing, it's never been an indicator that's caused us.
Nope.
So,
we've been in a good spot.
right. And it has value today and it's not costing us anything. So,
Nope.
Okay. I think for now, as you move forward, I
I've
think
got the direction. Yeah,
we're comfortable staying with the program.
got it.
Okay. No old business, any new business? Information items, FOIA requests and student conduct review are in the board packet. And now we have public comments, topics not listed on the agenda. A designated portion of the board meeting is set aside to hear comments on topics not listed on the agenda. A person wishing to speak must sign in and provide all information requested on the sign-in sheet, including the topic they will be addressing. The board president will call speakers up by name, announcing their time to comment. A time limit of 5 minutes per speaker per agenda topic will be imposed. The purpose of requesting such information on the sign-in sheet is to obtain the correct spelling of the name of the speaker and contact information, which will be used for any necessary board follow-up. Tonight we have two community members who'd like to speak. First, Heather Blake.
It's Ballard.
Oh, sorry, Ballard.
Oh, that's okay. Do I just,
Oh, you can come up to, yes, please.
thank you so much.
You may want to move the microphone closer to you too.
Yeah, I'm pretty short. Okay.
All right.
Good?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
Good evening, all. My name is Heather Ballard. I have been a resident of Lockport for 22 years. Myself, my child, my siblings, and my mother have all attended D92 schools. I've always been fortunate to have been a part of this district and always believed it to be top-notch for the feeder districts into 205. I have always felt the district has done an amazing job at supporting our children and providing them with high-level education and zero-pressure peer interaction. Additionally, I am grateful to not share in the unpleasant experiences I hear from students and parents in neighboring districts. Even hearing former D92 students speak highly of this district and the difference to their current district. This makes me proud to be a mother in and an alumnus of D92. But I am not here today to discuss all these credible points. I'm here today to bring attention to this board my feelings on the current quarantine guidelines in place for our children. As a businesswoman, I understand the need to comply, but as an American, I believe in our constitutional rights to equality, and as a parent, it is my job to advocate for my child in those areas. It appears that D92 is solely basing their developments off the guidelines provided by the CDC as requested by the Illinois Department of Public Health and our governor. At the beginning of the school year, I'm sure it was difficult to accept what the IDPH and the governor were mandating for our school systems, intimidating administrations into enforcing their guidelines or suffering consequences that affect the education and future of our children. However, out of 859 school districts in the state of Illinois, 60 of them challenged the government. They suffered the consequence for doing this, but continue to advocate and fight for the equal rights and opportunities of their students. Because of their efforts, these districts are now able to fulfill their purpose to develop policies that govern school operation in compliance with state and federal laws and regulations without consequence. I have yet to see on the CDC website in their COVID section the word regulation used, only guidance. A guideline is a statement by which to determine a course of action. A regulation is an authoritative rule or order, an action already determined. I know that if I sat on a board of education and saw that 7% of our state fought against the government and won, that would be enough hope for me to initiate motion for change. However, after speaking with Dr. Arnold on Friday, it was made clear that this has not happened. Getting an education isn't just about books and grades. It is also learning how to participate fully in the life of this nation. I mean, these are tomorrow's leaders after all. The highest law in our land is the US Constitution, which outlines amendments that guarantee the government cannot deprive people in the US of certain fundamental rights, including equality. These amendments apply to young people as well as adults, allowing them equal right and opportunity. I invite the board to explain about how the guidelines for vaccinated students versus unvaccinated students is anywhere close to allowing equal right and opportunity. Where is the equality in the following situation? Student A tests positive for COVID. Student B to the left considered close contact and vaccinated. Student C to the right considered close contact and unvaccinated. Student C is quarantined for 10 days without the opportunity to test negative, while student B gets to resume normal activities without any quarantine period or proof of negative COVID test. I'm sorry, but did I miss the concrete evidence release that shows a vaccinated individual cannot obtain, carry, and spread the virus? Why is student B allowed to roam the hallways and potentially carry and infect all the other students, but student C must go home without the opportunity to present a negative COVID test to return to school? Please explain to me the logic behind that madness. The fact of the matter is if you are going to allow student B to remain in school, then student C should have the same opportunity. Their vaccination status should not determine their quarantine status because they both can obtain, carry, and spread the virus. Change needs to be made in the development of this district's policies concerning COVID quarantine. This district should be ashamed of themselves for supporting segregation and discrimination and for allowing children to be singled out. The district automatically lowers their standards in support of this behavior. The 7% of districts who decided to fight these guidelines had the right picture. They are truly educating our youth. Thank you for allowing me this platform to voice these concerns. I also have copies of what I just said, if anyone is interested in obtaining it for future reference, because I know I had to speak really fast.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Jennifer Kranz.
Hi. I'm going to try to speak as fast as clear as I can. The definition of segregation is the action or state of setting someone or something apart from people or things. This is 100% of what is happening right now to our children. Instead of dividing them by race and religion, we're dividing them by whether they're vaccinated or not. On Friday, I received a phone call from the nurse. Sorry, my daughter is in 8th grade, saying that she was a close contact and I needed to pick her up and that she was sorry she didn't call me sooner. I tried to ask her what had happened when I arrived, and she said she was a close contact and then turned her back to me. I asked, how and when was she a close contact? She said she could not tell me who had it. I told her I was not asking who, I was asking how this was even possible. She just said because she was on the basketball team. As I was signing her out, I realized that no one had told me what our next steps were. Do we need to get tested? Do we need to quarantine? If so, how long? No one seemed to have the answer, except for that she needed to stay home until after break, which would be 16 days, and that the nurse would give me a call to let me know if she needed a negative test to come back to school at that time. When I finally talked to my daughter, I was shocked to hear that she sat in that office for an hour before I was even called to come pick her up. Then she told me that everyone from the basketball team was called down to the office. They were each asked if they were vaccinated. If they said yes, they were allowed to go back to class. If they said no, they were told they needed to leave. If that is not segregation, then I don't know what is. I understand that you have guidelines that you must follow. We have to follow the same ones at my work. But why are we picking and choosing which ones to follow? On the CDC website, it states that unvaccinated people who are close contact should quarantine, but it also states that vaccinated people who are in close contact should test within 3 to 5 days of exposure. So why aren't we enforcing that? It also states that people that are fully vaccinated can be infectious and spread the virus. So if everybody on that basketball team was a close contact, then why is it okay for those kids, vaccinated kids, to go back to class where they can continue to spread this disease and the unvaccinated are sent home? The CDC website also states that there is an option for a shortened quarantine time of 7 to 10 days with a negative test. Why was that also not an option for us? I understand we have break next week, but she has basketball practice and they have regionals on Monday. Nowhere does it say anything about having a negative test in order to come back after 14 days. So why did no one at the school not know this, including the nurse that did not call me? I had to call her and leave her a message for her to call me back. I understand that you can't tell us certain things for privacy reasons, but what about my daughter's privacy? Does that not matter? On the ISB website, it states that schools should use the same standard protocols to collect and secure other immunity and health status of children. I don't think my daughter ever in her life has been asked if she had a measles vaccine. So how is it simply okay to just ask these children if they're vaccinated? What if they're lying? Isn't this why as adults we fill out their health form every year? These kids are 13 years old and they should have never been put in that situation to even ask that question. With the way that this was handled, no one's privacy was protected. We knew who on the team was vaccinated, who was not, and who the girl who tested positive before we even left that parking lot of the school. The whole situation was handled completely wrong. Who is deciding the close contact, and why can't that information be shared to us? I thought the whole point of sitting at desks for lunch is so they couldn't be a close contact. I still don't know to this day why, at what point my daughter was out without a mask for 3 to 6 feet of this girl for 15 minutes that would make her a close contact. There was zero communication from the school about what happened, how it happened, and what to do next, including what my daughter is supposed to do for her classes. Thankfully, she is a straight A student in all honors classes, so she's on top of her game. But why is her responsibility to contact her teachers to find out what she needs to do? Only 2 of her teachers are doing Zoom. The other posted an assignment, including the teacher whose assignment was to go outside for 30 minutes and write an email about what she did. According to the Executive Order number 90, it states that all schools shall make remote instructions available and consistent with the requirements declared by the State of Superintendent for Education. If we are going to continue to keep our healthy children in quarantine for no reason, then there should be a better plan for what they need to be doing at home. I've been in the school district for now 16 years. She's the last of my 4 kids to go through this school, and I have never in all those years felt so ashamed of how the staff and the district is handling the situation. You guys are supposed to be advocating for all of our children, not just the ones whose parents have gotten them vaccinated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We had closed session on the agenda. I would like to not go into closed session and wait to do those items in December, unless anyone had immediate need
We're in
to.
the whole board. I think.
Yeah,
Because we're missing board
right.
members.
Assuming board member, right? Unless anyone had anyone that. Okay. All right. So we'll move to, I need a motion to adjourn.
Pergola?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.